cater to those who believe in our values, who respect what we do, and that means we can do the same for them.
Yes.
That's big change for the business so far.
Yeah, amazing. Hello everybody, welcome to the second episode of Let's Talk BS. Today I have a very, very special guest as our first guest, Miss Eliska Lam.
Hi.
Who is the owner, the founder, creative director of Ruffles and Bells. So, what an introduction.
Oh, thank
Hello,
you.
Eliska. Welcome to my podcast.
Hello, everyone. No, thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be the first guest.
Yes, Eliska's the first guest and I'm
Yay.
so excited. Eliska is actually one of our clients for Blanc Studio and everyone already knows that I admire all of our clients. So, what a perfect guest. To start off the new year.
Yes, that's it. Good
I
start.
guess I'll just get straight into it.
Sure.
You nervous?
Hit me. Yes.
Why are you nervous
Hit me.
for?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Well, I guess we don't really get to, your audience, we don't really know that much about you online.
Okay.
Because, Ruffles and Bells, we see you here and there,
Yeah.
but in terms of sharing your story and how you got to where you are, we really want to dive deeper
Yes.
into that.
Okay.
So
I'm up for
let's
that.
just start off the podcast with how would you describe this year in 3 words for you?
Okay. It's probably very difficult to hone into 3 words, but I'd say enlightening,
Ooh.
grateful,
Oh.
and uplifting.
Oh.
Yeah.
Those are really nice.
Yeah, it's been a really good year. Learning a lot, and I feel like I'm discovering a lot about myself
Yeah.
and the business, and also really honing into motherhood.
Wow,
so
yeah.
that's been really good energy around, and just making the most of it.
Isn't that crazy how many years have you been in business now? For
14.
Ruffles.
Yeah.
For Ruffles and Bells specifically.
Yes.
That's crazy.
I stopped counting, I think. When you just do, it sounds cliche, but when you just love what you do, you just keep doing it and you forget that years passed. So 14.
I'm yet to learn that. Because I'm only going into my 3rd year of business. But Eliska's been in business for 14 years. And
Yeah.
it's crazy to me how you just said just then you're still learning so much about yourself and the business.
Yeah, that's what I love about it.
Yeah. But I want to take it back to, a bit early on in your life. Maybe talk us through your childhood a little bit, where you
Okay.
grew up and what that was like growing up.
So you know that I grew up in the Philippines.
Yes.
So very much, I guess you could say, family is Chinese, so it's Asian background. Expectations are very different, and it was really interesting to, looking back now, it feels like everything kind of makes sense and the pieces kind of are piecing it together.
Yes.
So for those of you who don't know, I studied IT, which is a very different background.
That's wild.
I know.
I still think that's so crazy.
But in hindsight, that's where I met my husband. So that was happening for a reason. It was growing. It was just simple. My dad runs his own business, even though he doesn't realize that he does. My mom's a stay-at-home mom. I'm the eldest of 3, and you just do every day. You go to school, finish your homework, have fun being a kid, and that was it. Come uni time, that's when things are a bit different. I guess in high school, I've always had something creative to do. I was in different clubs.
Right, okay. Were you always creative in high school and your younger years?
I remember I took an arts class.
Right.
When I was, I think, 7 or 5.
Okay.
I was just coloring. And I don't really remember if I asked my mom to enroll me in that class or it was just her having an idea. But I'm used to my mom moving things around the house.
Okay.
The house is well kept. It has to be clean. So that was just in my background. That was how I grew up. And coming to high school, I remember I would do, when Corel Draw was in, it was PowerPoint, but old school. And I would use to print stuff, and I was really proud of it. It was just those small things and you just don't think much of it. It was just school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of, I guess, grew from there.
Yeah. What was your first memory of how you got into like business and even like weddings in particular?
Those are two very different questions.
We
Because
can break it down.
I remember that even in high school, I used to sell things, random things.
Really?
Yes.
Like what?
There was, you know, when CD was a thing? So I used to have this service where my friends would give me a list of songs that they want in a CD, and I would burn it, and I would print like a
my
cover.
gosh.
And I was literally, my dad was funding it. That was my business.
How old were you?
Year 12?
So you were like 17, 18?
Yeah. And that was just like, why not?
Yeah.
It was a thing. Like, I didn't really think much of it.
Yeah.
It was just, it made sense to me. So that was, I guess, my very first business. And I didn't do like a lemonade stand or something, but yeah.
I did a paper doll stand.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. Yeah, so that was the very first in terms of business. In weddings, it was when I was already in corporate. I was working. I remember it was just random weekend. Internet was quite new. Sound really old. And blogs were a thing. It was the blog. It was just blogs, and I stumbled on I can't remember the name. It was Style Me Pretty and all those wedding blogs, and I never knew there was this whole world of weddings. And I just kept scrolling, and then I kept going back to it.
Wow, okay.
That was my escape from work. Like, I would go
just
home.
reading them and like...
Just reading them.
Okay.
And it's like, oh my God, you could do it a full day? And it was just, everything's just beautiful, and it's a whole orchestrated production, and that was beautiful. So I started Ruffles and Bells as a blog. It was just for me to collate things. And
I didn't even know that.
Yes, that was when you looked it up, it's still there. It was on WordPress, and it was the first ever logo that I did. So yeah, it was just random things, and then it was just a collection, just an album for me, collection of beautiful things that I think was beautiful, and I felt like someone might want to hear what I want to say.
Right.
That was the start of Ruffles and Bells.
First of all, where'd you get the name from?
Mom's wedding dress was quite roughly.
Okay.
And I was always fascinated by that.
Okay.
I used to watch my parents' wedding movies on loop.
Wow.
Like,
just
again,
for
now,
entertainment?
Yes, just for entertainment. Aside from, cartoons, that was my go-to. And now that I mentioned it to my mom, I was like, yeah, that makes sense now. And then Bells, it was just something to connect it to wedding.
Yeah.
But that was it.
So intentionally, your blog was supposed to be for weddings?
For weddings. It was a
Okay.
collection of beautiful things that I thought was beautiful, and some people somewhere in the world might feel like, this is beautiful, I could come back here and I can get inspiration. That was it. That was my main purpose.
Were you married yet?
No. God,
You
no.
just loved weddings?
Yes, yeah.
How
I was
random.
going out with my husband already, my
Yeah,
then
yeah.
boyfriend, but yeah, there was no plans of weddings just yet when
Yeah.
that happened. Yeah. And
Was
then
this still in the Philippines, or were
Yes,
you already?
we're still in the
oh my
Philippines.
gosh!
I was doing full-time 9 to 5 IT.
Yeah.
Loving it, loving the whole hustle in the city, climbing up the corporate ladder, and that was like my hobby, my escape.
Right.
And then one of my colleagues from work was getting married. That was my first dip into full wedding planning.
Okay, tell me about this. So tell me about this first, I guess, venture that you got to do for your friend.
Yeah.
Still back in the Philippines.
Yeah, back in the Philippines.
While you were still working your full-time
Yeah.
job. How was that experience?
I don't know how I did it, but I did. And how? So it was a lot of research. Everything was self-taught. We were looking from wedding venues to dresses to color palette, florals. I would go to the market with her, with my husband, and it was
Aaron
learning.
was involved too.
He was very involved.
Oh my God, bless.
He was very involved. And so I think I was already taking in stuff through my childhood.
Wow, yeah.
Like, where the markets are, I've always known it's there. I've always drove past it. So now I know where to go. So just those things like that.
Yeah.
And then full on planned timeline to detail to how the day goes.
Yes.
That was my first experience of what it was.
Yeah.
And it was a job.
Yes.
It was something that you can create a business out of. But that was the first, so I did it mostly for free.
Yeah.
And I was just having fun. And then I get recommended to different friends, and then I'm like, okay, actually, this could be something.
So with that first project, and you mentioned that you did most of it for free, how did you handle your time, like working? Because you're working in corporate, and then you were doing this for free as well. First of all, you obviously love what you do, and often like at the very beginning of our businesses, before you even begin to realize that there's actually potential for it to scale, how did you feel like doing that for a friend?
So fun.
So much fun.
So much fun. And that's where I felt, I guess, my creative urge was just there, and it was waiting to be awakened.
Yeah.
So it felt like I would finish my job, and then I would still have so much energy to research.
Yes.
And I'd plan like weekends, like we're gonna go to here and here, we're gonna source these vendors, we're gonna talk to this, and then I'm still constantly updating my friend. It helped that she works in the same office as me, so I'm like,
you're planning
lunch break, planning a wedding now.
Fun. Yeah.
So yeah, that was it. You just make it happen.
Yeah.
When you're having fun.
So you did most of it after work, during work.
Yeah.
And also
my
on
boss
weekends.
probably wasn't happy about that. But I'm still friends with my supervisor. And she knew that was happening. And she was there to support me. Not being too obvious about it. But yeah, you just
That's amazing.
find ways to make it work.
Then how did you go from... So since that very first experience of planning essentially a wedding, you then migrated from the Philippines to Australia. How was that journey, and talk us through like what you were doing for work and how that all came about?
Yeah, I moved here 2012 when we were about to get married.
Okay.
The plan was that we moved here, obviously better life, better opportunities. My husband got a job in Sydney, so it was like, okay, let's just go. Didn't have really any plans about the business. I wasn't really thinking about doing it more. I knew it was just, it felt like a fun thing, a hobby. And then I started looking for jobs here. I just don't have the heart for it. I started applying to IT companies. I remember applying for NSW Police because they need someone in the IT department, but it's like I'm doing it because I need to do it. Obviously for financial reasons. And then it was my husband who went, okay, you've tried a couple of months. How about just see where you go with Ruffles and Bells if you still want to do it.
Yeah.
And I probably in hindsight was mentioning a lot of it to him, like, oh, I've seen this and I get so excited about, craft store and stuff like that. So I started researching to that. I met Jade, who's my mentor now, and that was, everything else is history. I opened network. I learned that there's a whole different, a whole wedding industry, and started to network myself to different people, started visiting venues. I was just researching what I think should be done.
Yeah.
And then officially registered the business as a business. Here. Yeah.
Was that within your first year of being here?
Probably first year, I'd say. Yeah.
That's crazy. Like to think about the fact, because I know what Philippines is like, and I know the mindset that's been instilled in the Philippines. It's very much education, stability. Yeah. You work for a company and climb up the corporate ladder, right? Yeah. That's what we've been taught growing up. So it blows my mind how you've, number one, first of all, migrated from the Philippines to here, you and your husband, and just full launched into this business idea.
I think I was really great, lucky.
Yeah.
I was able to meet the right people at the right time, and I guess, I was open to it. I was open to new opportunities, but it was just being able to see that also in hindsight, I'm the kind of person who would, if people say that's not possible, I'm gonna make it possible. Yeah. I'm gonna make it as much, find ways to make it happen. So I was in some ways determined to prove that if this is what I really love to do, I'm gonna make a living out of it. Yeah. Because I also know the feeling of being burnt out being in the corporate, and it came to a point where I was just going into the office and I'm like, okay, we're doing this again.
A lot of people would feel very much that way.
And it's so common because we're told this direction of life that you need to take, and then you just do it because you think that's how it should be.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm not turning back. There's no way I'm going to turn back.
Yeah. In saying that, so you were working kind of in between jobs while you had this incredible idea for a wedding event,
Yeah.
planning and styling. Do you think there was like a huge transition between like working for someone and just working for yourself?
Yes, very much so. It's responsible for everything.
Yeah.
For yourself, for what the reputation or the brand would be, and you get to this space where you ask questions that you never thought you'd ask yourself. What do I want, this business to be? What do I want to be like? And there's questions that you get asked when you're in high school and you don't take it seriously, like where do you want to be in 5 years? You actually
now you
need
have
to
think about it.
Yeah, and actually action on it. It's not just about speaking it out in the world. You actually need to action on them. And it helped that I was barista for a couple of years here and there. That was being out, and that's where I practiced my elevator pitch.
Yes.
Literally talking to random
Customers.
strangers. Hi, what would your coffee be like today?
Yeah.
And then I also do this. So I got more confident, but it was a lot of self-work.
Yeah.
Which I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Okay, we've spoken in the past about the struggle with parents and expectations and stuff like that, and I know you experienced a little bit of that, especially coming here.
Yes.
And the shift in industry and shift in work. How did you combat that, and what was that like for your family?
My mom and my dad surely was very worried. I don't blame them. But a lot of it was explaining to them what it was. I don't think my dad was able to explain what I was doing for like years.
You mean he didn't know how to like tell other people what you were doing?
She does weddings, like that's it. But I think for me, I feel like, because I have 2 younger siblings, I feel like I wanted to show them that there's a possibility of doing things you love.
Yes.
And you don't have to be stuck to what everyone is.
Oh my gosh, that is key. Like doing what you love. I feel like there is this concept, especially where we grow up, that work equals struggle. Do you feel that?
Yes, a lot. Yeah. Like if you're not working hard, you're not working enough.
Yes.
Yeah. But being able to, now I feel like I've opened this whole world to my parents. Oh, you can do that. Okay.
Yeah.
All
but
right.
it took how many years?
Oh yeah, I can't even count. 14 years. But they're there. It's great that the support is there. Obviously, they're worried. Now that I'm a parent, I get that. But a lot of it is also, we've talked about this, like when you have a business, you grow a thick skin.
Yeah.
Because you have to. And because you believe in what you do so much and you know there's a need for it, having that belief really helps you stronger, makes you better, helps you make better decisions, and having the right circle.
Yes.
Being surrounded by the right people who inspires you, who encourages you. So a lot of gut, but I think if you want to be in business, you have to. You have to have those guts.
Absolutely, thick skin. I want to talk about the struggles and the challenges that you went through growing and like building a business that you've sustained over the last 14 years.
Yeah.
A lot of people after the first 2 years of business, they realize how much hard work and how much constant reinvestment it actually is.
Yeah.
What was it like for you your first few years of business? Was it a struggle? Like, what were the most important lessons? A lot of our viewers, especially Blanc Studio, I feel like they're in a very, number one, we get some people who aspire to be entrepreneurs or they have an idea to be a business owner. And a lot of them are first, second year, third year of business.
Yeah.
And those are very,
Yes.
precious time in business, and you learn so much. What was that the first 3 years for you like?
It was a struggle. It was a lot. I remember there was a lot of doubting myself. Is this something I really want to do? I have no business background. And again, coming from, maybe it's from the Philippines or maybe from an Asian background, but you feel like you need to study it to be something. You need a degree,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
But again, it's more so that, I remember it was a lot of I have to face clients without having any experience, or I never did that in my corporate job. So now I'm selling myself and pitching myself, and then I'm selling this dream, a concept, and I need to really believe in it. So it was definitely a struggle understanding what responsibilities I need to look out for first. Any entrepreneur starting out, you wear so many hats and you can only get to a certain point. So definitely trying to find time to learn is the one thing that helped. Listening to like my mentors and friends who've been in the industry or who are in the business world really helped me change my mindset on you don't have to do everything yourself. And having the right support, I'd say, really helped throughout that.
You've mentioned a couple of times you have a mentor.
Yes.
How do you think having a mentor has played a part in like growing your business?
Heaps. Because these are people that have seen more than, same as your parents, they've seen so much more than you have, so they carry with them this experience that you would never have thought of or never think it's possible. And sometimes a mentor is just as simple as having someone listen to you. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to shout out to the world, that's what they're there for. And it can be as simple as people who you look up to. But it's having that, knowing that you're not going through this alone. People who's gone through that same journey and have gone past that and have been successful. They've been really, really valuable to the growth for Ruffles and Bells. Like at this stage, we're still growing and we're still learning, especially after the pandemic. So many things have changed. So the most thing that I can invest on is the knowledge from people who have been through that. Yeah,
that's amazing. How do you think you have evolved in your business from then to like now being, going into your 14th year, and you mentioned the pandemic and how you had to change and pivot a lot of the ways that you do things. How do you think you've become more efficient and just a better business owner?
I think for every entrepreneur, it's really important to know that change is a part of it. It's part of you can't be stagnant for so long, because that would just result in decline. So in terms of the team has changed so much now that, for example, we can have a team in California, we can have a team here, we can have a team in the Philippines. So that has to be adapted to the current times in that sense. The weddings that we do now, we used to do back-to-back weddings every weekend, and that just burnt us out.
So that didn't really work for you. It did for a few years.
Yeah, maybe 2 or 3 years, and it was like too much. We get so tired at the end of the season. We didn't want to move, just that was it, and we felt like we weren't giving 100% to each of our clients.
Right.
So that's where we knew things had to change.
Right.
Things had to move. Maybe it's about, finding the right clients is one of the most important things when you're running a business anyway. So understanding that we can't cater to everyone.
Yes.
We cater to those who believe in our values, who respect what we do, and that means we can do the same for them.
Yes.
That's big change for the business so
far. Amazing. And for someone who is in the luxury wedding industry, your clients are very specific.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
What has helped you the most in attracting those kind of clients over the last few years?
The branding definitely has changed and evolved ever since. I looked at my first logo and I'm like cringing. PowerPoint or something. So I think it's the attention to detail. That's what people see in our work. We don't just, even though we're stylists, we look at ourselves as more of an event producer.
Right.
So we look at how you enter the room, where you enter the room, how the lighting is there. We work with all those things that is beyond what you think a stylist or a planner would do.
Yeah.
And that's what makes us different.
Yeah.
And knowing that our clients are looking for different things every single time, we cater to that because they are our clients.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that they get the full experience from beginning to finish.
Yeah. How do you think marketing, branding, social media, that world has helped Ruffles and Bells like become what it is today?
Lots, that's why we have you. It's the language that we speak, as you know. A lot of our work is quite visual, but having the right language to support that really helps us deliver the pitch. And that's what resonates with our clients, because they feel that they really care about the detail.
Yes.
There's attention to the little things that might be, you know, people might think you won't even notice it, but we do. And then our clients will as well. So respecting those things and delivering that through marketing has helped us find the right couples, our ideal clients,
basically the way that we communicate to them online, but then you carry that through with the way that you do your sales pitch, basically throughout your sales client acquisition process. Hey, like everything has to be super cohesive.
Supportive. And then it goes through the design process until we do the execution of it. Like, it makes sense what they see from the very beginning of when they, you know, read through social media or a blog or a podcast, for example. It carries through and establishes that, okay, what they were talking about, they were serious about it. There's actually a story
that's
to
repetitive.
It. Correct.
Yeah. Amazing. So many questions I want to ask you.
But
But I know a big part of you operating the past few years has been influenced by becoming a mother.
Yes.
In terms of your purpose, your sense of purpose, and how you now think of, you know, your everyday things, how has being a mum impacted you as a business owner?
A lot. My little baby, it's a rainbow baby, but literally, I think it's given me a really different purpose in terms of how I see the world. It's sometimes
What do you mean by that?
It's really good to just feel like a child sometimes, just take in everything. You know, like the way she thinks just reminds me of how I should ask questions. Like, why are we not asking more questions when we go about everyday life? And then in terms of work-life balance, you know, everyone wants to find that work-life balance, but prioritizing what needs to be done and what is important and what's not. There's so many things that happens through a business every single day. And you get drowned onto this pile of work. And if you don't have that priority, you end up not being productive at all. So that's changed so much, obviously, because, you know, we have to make sure that we take care of her. So what would be the next priority after her? So that's changed how I manage the business. Time blocking has been a big thing now this year, especially making sure that we have time for our clients, but you know, also for specific things like sourcing things for our clients, designing. Like, we have schedules for that now, as compared to before, where it's just like, okay, we'll just do whatever can fit in a day.
Pushed you to create those systems within your business so that you can prioritize your time better.
Spend time with family.
I
don't want to miss out. And I've heard this before. We had a lot of her friends in the industry, they feel guilty that they're not spending time, because weddings are usually on the weekends.
That's true.
So they don't have time to spend with their kids because they have a birthday party, but then they have to work. So I don't want that to happen to me. So having that time to be able to plan the business where, okay, I want to make sure that I still have weekends and I get to go to my, you know, go through and see and experience my daughter's milestones. How do I make the business work around that?
Speaking of having your business work around the lifestyle that you want, I feel like that's a common thing that we always talk about, right? But I think that's, you know, people always talk about the struggles and the challenges of the business. I want to explore the idea of how your business has been a positive, like, impact on your life and just the way that you want to live your life.
The main thing for me is self-discovery.
Self-discovery?
Yeah, I feel like that's the one thing that I love about running a business. It's knowing that I get better and better every year. I get to work on myself.
Yes.
When a lot of people that I've, you know, met through my life didn't really have the chance to. I'm hoping that the business is building to where I get to be a good example to my daughter.
Aw.
That she can do whatever she wants to,
Yes.
as long as she puts her heart in it. And perseverance pays off.
Yes.
As long as, you know, you're true to yourself, you work with yourself, and also being able to touch other people's lives
Yes.
with what we do. That's why I said at the beginning of this interview, like the year, it's been really enlightening and grateful, because I never thought that styling a wedding or planning a wedding is actually a medium for me to show people
Yes.
that you can do whatever you set your heart to,
Yes.
and that life is actually possible. We're no longer bounded to, you know, you have to be this and that. You can write your own path.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, in saying that, I want to close off this podcast episode asking you, what are your plans for the next year or so for Ruffles and
Yeah.
Bells? What's
Um,
in the making?
2024 is going to be exciting. We've got really good clients and briefs coming up, but I think it's just making it more efficient.
Okay.
Definitely
It's always a work
aiming
in
for
progress.
yes, always. We want to make it better. Definitely building a bigger team,
Okay.
but I'm also excited to be releasing my first styling course next year. Just something to share what I've learned to everyone who's interested in styling
Yes.
a wedding, and also like running the business on its own. So yeah,
Expanding more into like the digital side.
yeah, just teaching, and hopefully
And mentoring. We're gonna do
mentoring.
Thrive
Yes,
too.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
lots happening.
Yeah, that's so incredible, and I'm so excited to see how everything unfolds
Thank
for Ruffles, and I'm excited that I get to do it with you by your side and you know, execute your ideas through your marketing. You know,
It's been amazing. You
I'll-
always know when to, like, you speak my thinking.
sometimes
You
literally
always
it's
get-
just like we're just on the same page.
Yeah, I know.
You said this thing a couple, like maybe a year ago now, where sometimes like you don't even have to say things to
Yeah.
me, because I will just like come up with the idea myself.
Which is great.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, thank you so much for being
Oh,
here
thank
today.
you. Thank you so much for having me.
We can't wait to showcase this to the world. Everybody,
Yay.
if you haven't followed, why not? Please follow Ruffles and Bells to see all of Eliska's beautiful work. And if you are planning to get married, you know where to go.
You know where to find us.
You know where to find her. Thanks, Eliska.
Thank you.